I've got 658.
Yeah, your cell is probably.
Glad to see your voice is better.
Me too. I know Susan was too. She lost her voice right after this. I was like, she blamed it on me. She said, I had to do all that talking for you. So, but hers didn't last as long. I think it was 2 days. She was without hers totally. There's Claire. Okay. Hi, Claire. Oh, she's not there yet. Still rolling. Wait. Hi, Claire. Hello. Can you hear us, Claire? Oh, she's on. Is she muted?
Yeah.
You're
Sorry, I was
muted.
trying to get my. You guys hear me?
Okay, just want to make sure you can hear us. So. 1 minute.
We just say Heather is on here, or
Heather was, she was. I'd say she's still on there. It looks like we have 3 people.
Yes, I'm still here.
There she is.
I'm just hiding, but I'm here.
I've got 7, so let's begin. I call this meeting of the Trail Board of Trustees to order. We'll begin with roll call, please.
Heather,
Here.
Claire,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Harlan, here, Jane, here, Patty,
Here.
Rhonda, here, Mark,
Here.
Becky, here, Goldie.
All right. Kendra, did you have something you'd like to say to us? Oh, there's Goldie. Hi, Goldie. There's Goldie.
I'm coming. I'm slow.
You're right on time.
Well, yes, welcome to Odessa. Thank you for coming and enjoying our beautiful branch because we just got newly painted walls. Doesn't it look very nice in here? We are sprucing up for our 10-year anniversary. We'll have been in the, well, technically, our 10-year anniversary was January 18th. I asked if they would like not make me do an anniversary party in January. And they graciously said, yes, you can do it when you'd like to. And I said, let's do it in May. So May 9th, we're going to have our anniversary party. And I wanted to invite everybody on the board to come. And we're doing it from 2 to 4. We're going to have games and fun things outside. And inside, we're going to have different organizations and clubs that actually use our meeting room on a regular basis here, so that people can kind of see what we do in the library and what we provide for our community. I'm going to have Miss Jackie's going to be here to give a speech about it.
I don't know if speech as a whole, you know.
Well,
Not very long,
she's
but
in the job.
I'm
It
gonna
doesn't have
speak.
to
There
be
you go.
like
A few words.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like an hour-long speech. And we're just going to party up that we've been here for 10 years in this building. So we're very proud of our building. But, other than that, not a whole lot. We're prepping for summer reading and trying to prep for the anniversary party. So I'm pretty sure I've probably stressed my staff out just a tiny bit. Since not even a month later, we start summer reading. So we're kind of mushing it all together this year. Next year will be better. Anybody have any questions about Odessa or anything that we do here? Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Okay, we'll begin with our consent agenda. There's minutes in your folder from the executive session that took place in February that we didn't have last month, which would also be included on
the consent agenda. So you're aware of that. Any questions?
I just have, again, a statement on the budget report. It seems that those two lines that I have been concerned about of gifts and reimbursement and professional services continues to be growth. And it's like 200% over budget, both of them. And I know you said that there was reasoning behind that, but yet it doesn't seem like it's been fixed, and this is like going on.
Well,
3
there's
months.
still other things that, like monthly, so like our attorney's fees, that comes out of professional services. As far as gifts and reimbursements, so that's any donation, so sometimes we get donations that we don't anticipate. And so when we do the expenditure, it's still gonna come out of that, line item. And I did say before, the ones that were budgeted other places, if you guys want it to be moved, that money to be moved, you would have to make a budget amendment, in order to make that happen. I will tell you, as far as our audit and our accounting standards that we go by, going over a line item is not a big deal. We're not gonna get in trouble for that on the audit if we go over our entire budget. So that's when we get dinged on the audit as far as that. But if you guys as a board want that to match up, we can certainly make that happen as well, but the board has to take action to do that. I can't do that on my own.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. It just seems way out of line. I mean, I'm actually on the budget versus actual, from July through June. I mean, if it's under 10% or 20%, it's not that big a deal, but we're looking at 223% in one and 250% over budget in the other one. It's a red flag for me. That's it.
The gifts and reimbursement is probably always gonna be over because I can't always anticipate how much we're gonna pull in donations. Also, grants come out of that as well, and so we don't know exactly how much we're gonna get, or if we're gonna even get grants at all. So it's really hard to budget as far as the expenditure side of that, when it's kind of an unknown. If you look at the revenue side, it's gonna offset that as well. So grants go into grants, and then gifts and reimbursements, as you can see, we are over budget there because we brought in more.
So how does that affect when the next budget is gonna be created? I mean, how do you balance that then? Do you say, oh, well, goodness, we under budgeted, 250%, so then are we raising that then? I mean, I don't know how that works.
Well,
without having worked on
if
budget.
it's warranted for the next budget, yes, then I would raise that. But two big chunks of it were because it was budgeted in the wrong, different line item than what we
Okay,
actually
that
paid for.
makes a little more sense. Okay. 'Cause I thought originally you said it was the new system and they were putting the expenditures in the wrong place. and-
Well, it was two things. So it was, whenever I budgeted as far as expenditures, so there was one, I budgeted under salaries and it should have went under professional services,
Okay.
right? So that was a chunk. And then, what was the other one? Navigate, their services. Because I was thinking renovation, so I put it under capital, but it really should have come out of professional services. So that was another chunk.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah. So what the issue was with the new system is when she ran this report, it gives you how much you're over budget and then what the percent is of the budget, right?
Right.
Well, she has to tweak it a little bit to make it work right for us because it was taking it by quarter. And so,
So we're getting a quarterly figure in here?
no, how should I explain this? So instead of looking at, here's what I budgeted, so, one of the biggest things for me was the tax revenue, right? Because I was like, no, I know I budgeted more than that in there. They was taking it like per month, so we were like 6 months in, so it was looking at it as what it should have been in 6 months. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So she's got it fixed to now, it's looking at the entire budget.
Okay.
So your line here that says budget, that's what was being incorrect, so it was throwing these numbers off.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? All right, do I hear a motion?
motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay, that was aye for the, okay. It's just delayed. Okay, so, the consent agenda, motion carried. All right, there's no unfinished business. The first order of new business is consider approval to hire Trust-Centric to facilitate our new strategic planning process. That gentleman was here last month and spoke to us.
Corey Shear.
Yeah, I can't, yeah. And there's stuff in your packet that explains that.
It's all the stuff that you gave.
It's pretty
last-
much,
last
yeah,
month.
much the same stuff.
Is this to replace Orange Boy?
And that
Um,
kind of goes along.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize if this was covered last month. How did you find Trust-Centric, and then what did you like about them versus Orange? Like, what were you dissatisfied about with Orange Boy?
So I'll start with Orange Boy. So this, I kind of inherited Orange Boy whenever I started. And it's great for some things, but they also were supposed to be working on the strategic plan. When I came out as the third director in 3 years, all of those 3 years, I think the strategic plan was supposed to be done and it wasn't. So we made sure that it got done the first year that I was here. But that's really hard for directors to do that because you haven't learned the district yet. But we knew we had to have something to go by. So we did put one together and we used some of the stuff that they came up with, but what they were looking more at was more future focused. And we had so many issues that we needed to kind of get to a good place. And then this next one now should be much more forward focused. As far as how we found Trust-Centric, we took several employees, and I was there myself, to Missouri Library Association, their annual conference a few years ago. And he was the ending keynote. We had no idea, but we all were just amazed, just blown away by the presentation. And then he gave everyone a copy of his book, which is Closing the Trust Gap. And when I came back and talked to Susan, our assistant director, I was like, oh my goodness, Susan, this is what we've been doing. We didn't realize this is what we were doing, but this is what we were actually doing, was closing that trust gap that we kind of inherited and everything. So we have kind of been, that's just been a central theme for us is, making sure that we maintain the trust in the organization, working on the organizational culture, making sure that that's, more positive. And so this just, then whenever I found out he was in strategic planning as well, helping facilitate that process, I was like, oh, wow, because it continues with keeping that at the focus of the organization.
Okay, and did you feel like basically the proposal that he sent was like in line with what you thought that you wanted, and then was the cost in line with other companies that maybe you've worked with in the past for like this work?
So as far as the proposal, yes, he had met with, I think it was Tessa and myself that met with him a couple times about the strategic plan process and what that would kind of look like. Very happy with it. It's not just like you're one and done. They come back at 6 months, and I believe it's at 6 months and then a year to look at kind of where you are and if there needs to be any adjustment. And what it is they want you to be able to continue doing that so you don't have to hire another company every 5 years to do this again. You can just keep going with what you have. So that very much was appealing to me. I did not go out, and look at other companies. I have worked with others before, and it's pretty comparable. And then he also gave us that $3,500 off that we had already paid for the employee workshop in February.
Okay, cool.
Is this a contract? Or is it a 1 year?
It's for the planning process, so it's for all of the stuff that he proposed in here. So I think he said it was 7 months. So the timeline is on this page, Carlin. Yeah. So it's in phases. So there's like months 1 and 2, and then it's usually around 7 months to have it completed. And then you would then start with that, and then they would come back after 6 months, and then a year, I believe it was. And it probably says in here somewhere.
This is the price up here.
Yes.
So it's not like Orange Boy where we were under a 5-year contract.
No, it's not. It's just for this process.
Because
That was.
I did not bring Orange Boy here. Orange Boy was here before I got here.
Me too.
And they really didn't do anything. We paid them a lot of money and they didn't do anything.
Yeah, I was not happy because I ended up working.
Until you came and made them do something, and that's.
Yeah, and then we still weren't happy with the results. Because what they gave us wasn't really helpful for where the organization was at and what we needed to take care of before. They wanted us to start looking at stuff, we're not there yet.
How
So,
much
I
should
mean-
we pay Orange Boy?
I would have to look it up because some of it was,
7,000 sticks in my mind, and
So
but
we-
I think that was,
we pay for the platform that we use, that we'll send out, we can send out surveys, we can send it, and we collect our stats. So it's useful for that part of it, but then they also wanted to use them for the strategic plan. And that was on top of our annual,
seems like we paid them 7,000
every year.
month. I thought it was,
It might have been, I'd have to go back and look.
it was a lot of money.
Claire, I think that was Claire that asked that. I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, I could certainly pull that for you.
Yeah, I'd just be curious, given that you weren't pleased with the work that you received for them. So then if you're happier with this trust centric, just having an idea of where we were at with Orange Boy in terms of cost, kind of, just would, I'm not super familiar with this stuff. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if this is like a great price. I don't know, you know what I mean? And if it's what you want, that's great. But like, I just want to make sure this is, a good bang for our buck too.
I would say we paid Orange Boy more than that because we had, was it the 5-year contract?
Yes, we were under a contract with
Yeah.
them. So even if this company does no more than Orange Boy, they're cheaper. And we're not committed for 5 years. I mean, we
Exactly.
can go move on.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an odd name.
What?
Orange Boy.
Orange Boy, yeah.
It's an odd name.
It's named after one of their cats.
Yeah, I knew it was named after something, but that was my question.
They had an orange tabby cat. Yep. And it was called Orange Boy. I think that was the name of the cat.
I hope a cat got more attention than we did.
I would say probably so.
So trust. Anybody have any other questions? Does that answer your questions, Claire? Yeah, okay. All right.
And is this part of that, what is covering, or what is this?
That is a separate thing, so that's navigate, that had to do with the renovation, so this would be potentially the next step. is what-
Okay. I missed a lot last night.
Okay, so, anybody have any feelings? Anybody want to make a
Well, just a
motion?
question, does the board, as a board, do we need more than one bid to,
Not for this, because it's considered professional services, so you don't have to go out to bid for those. So, a lot of other things you would have to, but this is what they call a professional service, kind of like your attorney or whatever, you don't necessarily have to go out to bid.
Okay, anything else? Okay, what's your pleasure?
I mean, I was impressed with him last month, especially because, since he's fairly local, he's not gonna charge us, travel and that type of thing. And I was, impressed with him.
I'm impressed we don't have to be under a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
And they said there's no contract, it's just. this
Just
is
the
what they're-
agreement to
the
work
agreement-
on
The agreement to do it.
And I had asked the question if his bid or his amount was, gonna be like continuing, like he would hold on to that. And any company that's really says, oh, absolutely, whether it takes you 3 months or whatever, any company that's really in it for the profit is probably gonna say, no, you have 30 days.
Yeah.
And he didn't, he was very comfortable with it. So I was very comfortable with it.
I'll,
motion to approve Trustcentric.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to hire Trustcentric to, facilitate the strategic planning process. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, the next item on our agenda is consider approval to hire the Navigate Building Solutions to complete a facility needs assessment, which is task order 2 in your paperwork.
And this is different than what they,
Yeah, that was
presented
what they
last,
did.
that was the results of their study and kind of if we were to go different
The
directions.
one you sent along with the new,
Yes.
with the new agenda,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so, any questions about that?
Colette, did you have anything you wanted to say about the work, the task order 2, since it's
I could give a little background, just, I know what you're seeing here is different than what I left you with, last month. We kind of felt like we left you with a very big, decision. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I saw some people making hand signals. I thought they couldn't.
I think their phone went down. Yeah, they can't
Yeah.
hear us.
They can't hear us, but we can hear you.
We can hear
Okay.
you.
Well,
They
now
are-
we can really talk
they-
about things.
Yeah.
They lost their thing.
I wish I knew what their hand signals meant.
Well, I heard this weird like, broop, but then you had started talking right away, so I just
Yeah,
assumed something
yeah.
with your mic or something. But
I thought they turned my mic off.
Maybe we should make hand signals to them.
maybe
Yeah.
we should. Goldie, why don't you come up with some good hand signals? You seem like the type to have some.
Well, I taught middle school and high school for a long time. There were a lot of hand signals
Yeah.
I bet
sometimes.
there were.
Yeah.
I bet there were.
So she's working on it.
Are you surviving that horrible weather you're getting down there, Goldie?
It's not too bad right now. It did rain a little bit earlier and it was very dark and windy, but
Yeah.
right now it's just cloudy.
Because
So
you're in Holden, aren't you?
actually I'm in Warrensburg.
Warrensburg. Okay.
I taught in Holden and I lived in Holden. And I
Okay.
moved over to Warrensburg about 11 years ago. And in the last few weeks, I moved to a different place in Warrensburg. And
Oh, you did.
this is the clean part of the house that you can see right
Or
here.
because of moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing like moving. Tell you what. Well, and then you have so much stuff.
Oh,
Okay, you're back.
Hi.
Here you go.
yes. Well, we've been having a lovely visit.
Yeah.
Y'all missed
Yes.
it. So
We're on the wrong side.
Go ahead.
So, I think I just want to explain a little bit that you're seeing something different or hearing about something a little bit different than what I left you with a month ago. So when I visited with you a month ago, we left you with a slide of here's some decisions you need to make. Do you want to spend under 2 million and just use the money you have? Do you want to spend 2.4 or 5 million to renovate Warrensburg? And you need to decide do you want to go to the voters for a vote on this and how to finance it. And it just seems like that's probably a big chunk to just put out there. So one of our owners visited with Jackie and kind of said, hey, if this seems too big at one time, or if it seems like it's rushing it, let's talk about breaking that down a little bit. We talked at the last meeting and we believe too that if you're going to go to the public to approve a tax increase, you really have to consider all of your branches, or it would be a good idea to consider all of your branches. So we're proposing that your next step be we can go assess your other branches, similar to what we did at Warrensburg. Warrensburg, we were addressing some very specific, hey, here's some things we'd like to do. The other branches, it's going to be looking a little bit more broader, like you haven't come to us necessarily with, we want this and this and this, but we'll take a look at it and see, along with your staff, what could we do here too? So we're not just spending money on Warrensburg branch. So that's what we're proposing tonight is for Navigate to spend a little bit of time assessing your other branches and coming back to you with some recommendations for those. And then at that time, you can decide which ones you might want to pursue and not pursue, and then decide to take it forward. It'd probably be a larger dollar, but then do it once and do it right. If you take that forward to request some form of funding.
Hold on, just to make sure I was understanding everything correctly. When we met with Todd, he was talking about that they would look not only just at the building and what potential, what needs to happen or what we want to happen or whatever for improvements, but it also would include what it would take to maintain that facility for 20 years.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we want to look at things. Yeah, if you're gonna, you don't want to be going back out for a tax increase every 5 years. So let's look at it like what will sustain this building for 20 years. If your HVAC units are okay today, but none of them last 20 years, let's talk about would you replace them in 10 years or 5 years or whatever it might take to really see you through for a given period of the future.
How does this impact like buildings that we lease? I'm thinking like quarter, we don't necessarily own. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, that would be a little different. We'd still look at it and assess like what improvements would help you, but are also improvements that you guys can fund yourself versus things that you have to rely on the landlord to do. So we would look at it from that lens. It'd be a little bit different than looking at your other buildings, but still would look at what could you do. So, or if there's, if it comes down to there's shortcomings in those spaces that you could ask your landlord for, maybe there's another way to kind of spread some, maybe those are ones where you don't necessarily do building improvements, but maybe you guys have some other wishes for those branches that would help touch those as well.
Remind me, have we finished Warrensburg's assessment?
Yes, that was what was presented last month.
So you're saying that you don't think we can get a tax increase on just Warrensburg? We have to look at our system as a whole.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to look at it as a voters.
Because Lafayette
We have to
County
ask
has gone
Johnson
up.
County and Lafayette County.
So you're looking at two different counties, raise the taxes in two different counties. And, once we get this scope of services, that will increase the amount of money, what we want to raise taxes for. And, will that lock us in with whatever, because you don't facilitate subs and companies
Correct.
to do the work.
We are not the ones you pay to build the building. We are here as a consultant to walk you through and help manage who you hire to do the construction. What we'll help you do is, first, we would help you hire, and this is outside of the task order that you see in front of you, but one of the next steps would be we would help you hire a design team, and we would oversee them to make sure they are producing a design that is what you want, but most economical for you and staying within the budget that you define. And then when it's time to hire a contractor, we will help build a bid package and help put that out to bid and help you evaluate the bids you get. And then we would help manage that that contractor. But in no part of that are we being paid to do any of the building. Those contractors submit hard bids. We are just a fixed. We would be at that point like a fixed rate per month. You would know what you're paying us, and it doesn't change based on like we don't make money by. We don't make money off of the construction, if that makes sense.
The actual work, the construction.
Yeah.
My concern was that we would get competitive bids.
Yeah.
Because we've had a problem with that in the past.
Yeah. Not on Navigate scope because we're a professional service, like Jackie explained, but most definitely on the renovations. Yes, we would develop we want a design team to develop drawings that are what we call very tight. Like bidders look at it and they know exactly what they're supposed to bid and what they're supposed to do. And then we put that out, and anybody who's qualified to bid on that puts together their best number and submits it, and we open them all at one time. And so they all have to be pretty sharp with their numbers if they're going to try to get the project. So, and then obviously, if everybody wants the job, they're going to try to submit their lowest number. And we're going to be there after that, so that if you hire the contractor with the lowest number, we're going to hold them accountable so they don't then try to make up for their low bid by dinging you with change orders left and right.
I have a question. Are we required to do prevailing wage, or are we required to do anything union related?
I don't think union, but I think you have to do prevailing wage. You have to require prevailing wage.
There was some number that was under that you don't have to pay
Correct.
rebate.
Yeah.
Oh, 75,000, I think, is currently what I think. Yeah. So some of your stuff, I'm sure, like if you've had some mechanical work done or so forth, that was likely under the requirement. But any of these projects would probably exceed that. If any of them don't exceed it, or our estimate of it doesn't exceed it, then yes, we could talk about bidding it non-prevalent, without that requirement.
Can we use, because I know a couple of the branches had grant money or it was donated.
Donations, yeah.
And it was very specific for very specific things. And one of them was we could only use it to improve the building. We can't use it for anything else, just to improve that building.
Okay.
We don't own that.
Oh,
We're in control of the trust.
yeah. I think we could find a way to work that in, just depending on what the improvement is. I understand that, you don't really want to put money into a building that you potentially could walk away from someday and not own, but I think your intentions are long-term leasing, and if that's the terms of the grant, that it has to be for a building improvement, but you don't own the building, that's just where you would have to put it then. So if we got to that point, what we could do is identify a very specific part of the scope and say, this is what we want to fund with that grant. And we can have them kind of bid that number. It'd still be within their bid, but we can have them tell us what's the value of this one area or room or improvement. And you could identify, like, that's what you're putting the grant money towards, if that were helpful to you.
Okay.
I have two questions. Oh, sorry.
But we could use it.
I believe so. I don't know the terms of the grant, so you'd have to read into that a little bit more, but I don't see any problem. And we might also run that by Stifel, your who would be like your bond consultant, but we've had other projects where there's multiple sources of funding. And if that grant, we would have to read that grant and just see all the stipulations for it, and then try to write those into that area of construction.
Colette, for the gifts that we had talked about in that meeting with Todd, is what she's referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't talk
Jackie,
about that.
sorry.
Okay.
Jackie, which buildings do we own versus not own? And then, Colette, could you give us an example of the buildings that we don't own? What would be like a way that we could improve them without it being like, a massive improvement to a building that we might walk away from in the future?
Yeah. Depending what's in your lease already, if you're I'll say landlord, I think there's a better word for that. If your landlord is not responsible for painting, you could paint the space. You could do, some kind of finishes like that you can't necessarily take along. Depends what your agreement is. Like sometimes tenants are the ones who have to pay for interior finishes. And if that's the case, you as the tenant, that is something you would have to pay for anyway, whether you got this funding or not. So you could put it towards finishes. You could put it towards, I'll say, things that you can take with you: furniture, whiteboards, audiovisual equipment. And then beyond that, I mean, we're all about construction, but potentially, you know, if there is something there that would benefit your community that's not necessarily construction, like iPads or something along that lines. That's not nearly the value of like as construction renovations, but if there weren't enough things there that you were willing to put money into construction wise, potentially you could still benefit that branch by, and that doesn't benefit us because we're there to manage construction, but it is what I've seen some like schools possibly do, where if there's not a need, or in your case, it's not financially advantageous to put money into somebody else's building, maybe there's another way you could benefit that community and those users. But I think there are some construction things you could do still. Like I said, the finishes and audio, visual, and furniture and things that you could take with you.
And the other part of your question, Claire, so we own all the buildings except for Holden and Quarter. We lease those. And Leighton, yeah. Sorry, thank you. I was thinking our 8 branches, yeah.
But, I don't, right off the top of my head, I can't remember what our lease is with Quarter, but Holden's is 20 years, isn't it?
Well, so 20 years, and then we can do it for up to
Really?
5 times. So
Yeah.
up to 100 years, basically.
Yeah.
Jackie,
We
when-
don't own it, but we're control of it.
Quarter is yearly that we renew the lease there. Either way, you would have to go to the city to, you know, in both of those situations, you would have to work with the city to get approval for whatever improvements that you wanted to do, just like we did with Holden in the, where we did the kitchenette and all of that in the back room. You would have to, go and get their approval because they own the building. And just, and I just want to say, this is like the next step.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to go any further than that, you don't necessarily have to. But if you do, then there would be that we would bring you the next steps and the next steps. So just didn't want you to think we were going like out for bid or anything like
Yes.
that. Just-
Yeah, we did kind of jump ahead in that whole discussion. Right now, what's in front of you is a task order for Navigate to evaluate and assess all of your buildings and come back to you and say, here's the improvements we could recommend or suggest to you for consideration to get, 10 to 20 years life out of those buildings. And then you still, at that point, I mean, you could stop right there. You could look at the numbers and say, yeah, let's spend that much on that branch, but not quite on that branch. And then that will be like the end of this step 2.
So my next question is probably a little bit internal. Where is this fee coming from? What part of the budget does that come out of?
So I would have to budget this, we would not, currently we don't have it in the budget.
Right.
So this would come out of, professional services.
Okay, in 2026, 27.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next budget that I'm working on.
So question 2, and this may not be directly relevant to Navigate, but how will the election results affect the budget?
So from the Senate Bill 3 that
Yeah.
that just happened, so it was defeated in Johnson County, so, so we don't have to worry about that one. Lafayette, it did get approved, but theirs is not a freeze, it's a 5% cap. So
Okay.
we will be able to have some growth there.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be as hurtful to our budget, I guess, it wouldn't impact our budget as much, with just the one. Also, as far as the tax base, you're looking at about 2/3 out of Johnson and 1/3. If you look at just the tax base that we get, that's how it's broken down. So Johnson would have really affected us, especially with the freeze, but of course that didn't pass. Yeah, it was both of them were extremely close. And of course, it's still in the courts, but they're saying it's unconstitutional, so.
And I apologize, because I'm still playing catch up.
That's okay.
But how much money were we talking about that we are gonna need to do even just the Warrensburg project? I know that's not counting
So
bids.
it was
but-
different depending on what you ended up doing. So the finances, so easily we could do a million, and then we could potentially do 2 million. That would be a little bit tighter. You wouldn't have as much wiggle room with that. But I think we were looking at everything that we had, was it 4.5, Colette?
Yes. Yeah. There was an interim of 2.8 if it was really just, hey, let's do, let's postpone some things, it would be 2.8, but if you really did everything that was originally like a, sort of on your radar, it was more like 4.5.
And how much were we wanting to raise taxes?
I think we
For
were looking
those-
at every option, and that was in Steeples, their piece of the presentation. I think he was looking at, for just the Warrensburg project, was it 2 to 3 cents?
Yes, yeah, 2 cents got us that 2.8, 3 cents got us the 4.5.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand where we are. First of all, have we paid Navigate to do the assessment for Warrensburg?
All of it. Yeah,
Okay, all right, and so this would be the 24,000 would be for this phase 2. And then at the end of phase 2, I'm not saying this will happen, but we could decide not to go forward with anything at that point, correct?
correct, yes.
Okay, so in each section, okay,
A little more than that, because I sent a renewed, version, yesterday, late last night.
Okay.
Change the
We left those off, I was like, well, we need to do all facilities, we've already done Warrensburg branch, but we need to look at those other 2 buildings that we have on the campus here.
okay.
So is this dollar amount that's down here, that's what we would be approving? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the bottom of the page, under 4.0, it says, yeah, that's if we do the first 2 parts, right?
Is there a timeline for this assessment if we approve this?
Yes, we would start August 1st, knowing that we need to get into your next fiscal year, that we can't really do anything or it's not budgeted for this year. So with your new budget starting in July, we would start the assessment August 1st, and we would spend about 4 months on it.
Okay. So it would be for the state, and would be your tax.
If we don't move any further, we have you do this assessment, will you give us the results of that assessment?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. We can't hold that hostage. That is what if you have paid us to do an assessment, we owe you that assessment, and then and we know you can't make any decisions unless we've given it to you. It'll be similar to what I presented last time, I think, where we had sort of a detailed explanation of each item, and then more of a summarized version. We would present that the same for those branches as we did for Warrensburg. But yes, we owe that to you. And then because that's what you need in order to make a decision whether to go forward or not. So if we present that to you and then your board decides we're not comfortable, it's just too much to decide, and you didn't decide to move forward, you would pay us the 26 on that task order, and then that would be done. And we'd look to hear back from you if and when you do want to keep going.
Okay,
So is that paid like August 1st, or is it paid?
No, we bill, I want to see how you wrote the task order. We typically bill monthly. So we would divide this over like each month. 4 months. So we would divide that by 4 months. So at the end of August, if we've worked in August, we would bill you 1/4 of it. And then each month, at the end of each month, we would bill you.
That's how the one bird, it was broken up into smaller payments.
okay, board members, this is my thought. Okay? Go ahead and pay to have this assessment done. Then we have a very clear understanding of every branch and what they need done. Rather than play, well, we need to go over here and do this, well, then we may need to go over here and do that, and then something else pops up and you've got an emergency, air conditioner doesn't work, or the roof is caved in, or whatever. This will at least give us a true look at what
I would echo that because I mean, theoretically, at some point, we would have to spend the money to do the same thing anyway. So it's kind of like if we're already on step 2, we might as well just finish it out. And if we don't want to proceed, we don't want to proceed, but we have all the information.
Ever done this before? Had a full assessment of,
I think they have in the past here at Trails, but not since I've been.
okay.
It's been a while. I think it was.
Not been in
I would
line
say
for
probably at least 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while. And so they did that, kind of what we're talking about, and then they touched all the different branches. Some of them were renovated, this building was built, that was all part of, and this one was the last one, I think. Noster was, I think, right before that or right after. It was kind of around the same time, and then Concordia, I think was the one before that. So yeah, they did a little bit to all of them, kind of like what we're looking at possibly to do here.
But at least it would give us a look ahead to see what we need to be doing and what we need to be fixing, because we haven't had that.
I agree.
We played around with one thing or another. And I think. Played catch up. Yeah, we played catch up, because really for a while,
Reactive.
nothing. And so I think they all have some type of repair that needs something. They all do, all of them.
Even this one?
Yes. I make a motion that we go with Navigate Building Solutions to facilitate the assessment on the rest of our buildings.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Navigate Building Solutions facility assessment for the,
Do we need a cost?
what?
Do we need a cost?
I can't.
The cost, should that cost,
Right.
should the cost be
Thank
part of
you.
the motion? Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
You have to amend.
Okay, I'm gonna amend it. So I'm gonna go that we hire Navigate Building Solutions for $24,000, no, 26,000, even? $973 to assess the rest of our facilities and give us an idea of scope of work.
Your second still stands in? Okay. The amended motion has been made and seconded to approve to hire Navigate Building Solutions for $26,973 to complete a facility assessment for the rest of the branches in our district. More discussion? Anybody?
I think we should take a roll call.
Okay, we can do that. Could you call the vote, please?
Heather,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Goldie,
Yes.
Dan, Carlin,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rhonda, yes, Mark,
Yes.
Becky, yes.
All right, that motion carried.
Thank you, Colette.
Thank you all. Look forward to it. Take care. Have a good evening.
Patty, I want to say something else, if that's okay. I don't have a problem with anything that we just did. In looking over what we had plans for last time concerning the Warrensburg facility, I'm not opposed to unhoused people. I want to start with that. But in talking with people in the community, the two things that I think we have the biggest problem with that I think that we need to pay some attention to is the perception of people of the unhoused people being not an addition to the library, and also we don't have adequate parking. And over, because I ask people, what are the, what do you think of the library? They're very happy with the programs. They're very happy with the staff. But those two things come up over and over. And as we go forward, I think those are two areas we really need to address, or I do not believe people will vote if we go to a vote. So I just wanted to put that out there now so we could be thinking about that if we're not already thinking about it.
Yeah, I second the parking. Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're already thinking about that for sure. And that would be part of, like she was talking about, once they finish this, if you guys wanted to continue
Right.
on, that next step where you're hiring all those consultants, and a PR marketing
Right.
help would be part of that to help with that perception, because we have talked about that quite a bit.
Okay, thank you,
Alright.
Goldie. Yeah. All right, anybody else, anything on this? I do have a question. When we just approved this, we approved a dollar amount. We didn't put a dollar amount in our,
You don't
motion
necessarily,
for-
you don't
for-
necessarily have
for
to,
the-
as long as the agreement is signed, then
Well,
but yeah.
we'll sign an agreement with Trust Centric, that'll have a dollar amount in it? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I just.
yeah, we have to sign an agreement.
Okay, all right, I just happened to think of that, and then, maybe I should say something. All right, are we ready to move on? All right. The next one is, recommend reappointment of me to the board.
I make a motion.
I second.
Motion has been made and seconded to, reapprove, or reappoint me to the board, I guess I should say Patty Long to the board. Did I hear a second? Yeah,
Yes.
motion was made and seconded. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And just to clarify, this isn't a done deal, it still has to go to the commission.
Yeah.
For approval.
Has to go where?
Has to go to the commission for approval.
I agree with Goldie, we're not, I don't think we will not get a tax increase. It will not pass without better parking, because I'm telling you, everybody complains about the parking, everybody.
okay. And,
that lot across the street, little parking garage.
We needed a parking spot in the back.
Where's to the south sidewalk? Fire department, south, or what's to the south? Is it Pinch?
Right next to us on the other side of that wall
Yeah.
that's the fire department.
That's what I thought, it was the fire, that's Johnson County, right?
Is there, water rescue, I think is what they store there.
okay, and Kendra brought up that, they're having the 10-year celebration, May the 2nd, from 2 to 4 p.m. Any questions about that? Okay. And then just, she said,
Yes, I will be here.
Yeah.
She's already invited.
well, and I think we're all invited.
You're all invited.
If you come, they'll probably give you a job.
Yeah, I know. I'm the closest, yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Saturday, by the way.
All right, consider the approval of a location release for Anomaly Entertainment. So they want to use our facility to interview someone for some kind of TV show.
Yes.
And so what we need to do is just approve that it's okay for them to use our facility.
Throughout the
Did I get
world.
that right?
Throughout the world.
Yeah. It was, they're specifically asking to use our meeting room, so they wouldn't be filming, you know.
Well, that's what I'm confused on why we have, like, why it's not just a request, like, don't we have people request, like,
Because it's their requirement,
oh, it's a them thing, okay.
and I have
That's good
already
to
had
remember
asked. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Goldie?
I was also wondering that why we had to actually vote on it, but that makes sense to me now. Thank you.
And Adam said because in their, agreement, it specifies owner, so it doesn't say owner representative. If it did, I could just sign off on it, but it says specifically owner, so I had to bring it to the board for approval.
Okay.
What did you think?
And I thought it was fine. They're interviewing a UCM student, and I think her mother, she has a, seeing eye dog, I think. But anyway, so they're doing this story on her for this spot, and they're having trouble getting approval with UCM, and you would think they would want to do it on their campus because it's their student, but I don't know. So they finally started looking at other places because they're already in, what is it, post-production? All they're waiting on is this.
It might be some kind of like.
But they're not interested in, like, B-roll footage, I mean, it's just gonna be them interviewing.
Just the interview, yeah.
In the room.
That's all they're waiting on for this episode or whatever, yeah.
There's nothing in our room that identifies us anyway. It's plain.
No, there's not, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the location release for Anomaly Entertainment
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the location release for Anomaly Entertainment. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carried. All right, then we need to approve the meeting dates and locations for our next fiscal year. There should be a copy of that in your packet. Anybody have any objections to the dates or the places?
I move we approve the board meeting dates and location.
Go here a second.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the meeting dates and locations for the meetings for fiscal year 27. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carried. Okay, now. All right, and the last two, we need to consider approval to close the Concordia branch and Lexington branch on Tuesday, June 4th. I assume that's from a reading.
It is for one of our big presenters called Dino Encounters. Because of the cost, we're only having we're having 3 performances in one day in Lafayette County. So that is on the Thursday. On the Friday, we're doing it in Johnson County. That's in, one location, with 3 shows, at that same venue. And so what we would like to do is have the staff from the other branches come and help at the big event. But we would need to do that, or, most of them would probably have to stay to keep their branch open. So have to come bring it to you guys, if we're gonna close.
Oh, I make a motion that we allow, can I just do them both at the same time? Concordia and Lexington branch to be closed on Thursday, June 4th for, a special program called Dino Encounters, and also to close Holden branch and the Namnasa branch on Friday, June 5th for, again, a production of the Dino Encounters.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve to close the Concordia and Lexington branches on June the 4th, and to close the Holden and Knoxville branches on Friday, June the 5th, for the Dino Encounters program for summer reading.
Should we have said that they only get paid for that deal?
Oh, that's our, yeah, it'd be just like anything else. I mean, if you're
We're just
not.
closing the branch. We're not
Yeah,
saying-
yeah, you're closing.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, announcements.
Just the National Library Week is coming up.
Isn't that when we wasted
There's something going on special?
I'm sorry, what?
Isn't that when we all had like our defined days we were gonna go get?
I believe that's what you guys did last year, yeah.
Would we like to do that again?
What was that? I missed it. What did you guys do last year?
We
So
took,
last year, I think that's for, go ahead, Goldie, go ahead.
say, we kind of divvied up libraries that we were close to, and we took treats that all the librarians could use, or something like that. Try to do something special for them to show that we appreciate them. And I think
that's
we
a great
did
idea.
administration too.
I think we should do that again.
Okay.
When is
So
this
do we need
week?
to figure it out, or are you people just gonna do it?
Well, I think we need to make a list if people want to participate.
Okay.
Re-show it.
Who,
I don't-
But it's next week.
Okay, Becky's got Holden.
I'll do quarter.
Concordia,
Okay.
Dalton, wherever, just to help out. It's so easy to someplace.
That's fine. Well, there's Concordia, Waverly, Lexington.
Wherever somebody needs to go.
You've got Odessa?
I'll do quarter.
Who do you- The other, okay, you'll do quarter, okay?
I've been to Waverly, that's all.
Okay, you want to do Waverly? Now, Waverly is only open, Monday.
I'll take Warrenburg.
When is
Thursdays, and then of course Sundays.
What are we doing?
They're
Open on Monday, Wednesday, or
Friday or
Friday?
Saturday.
Yeah, that's perfect, yeah. Okay, so Mark's doing,
I'm confused, what are we doing?
Who's doing Concordia?
Taking treats to the staff.
and Mark's doing Waverly, okay.
Different branches.
How about, okay, I'll do Lexington.
Oh, for the week, I'll do home.
Becky said she was gonna do Oldham, but you guys can fight over.
Yay, Becky.
You guys can fight over them. You can help her. Okay, so that's everything, the or Warrensburg, who's doing Warrensburg? Who?
Dan, are you doing Warrensburg? I can help you, Dan, if you would like help.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them so.
Yeah, I can do it.
Goldie, what did you bring for treats last year?
Last year I bought things like, granola bars and some candy, and I did kind of like a basket so that,
Okay.
because they work at different times, they could come in and get some.
Okay.
I've seen them do gift cards like to Sonic.
Okay, cool. So just like fun little things. Okay.
Yeah.
Do it?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can do it. I'll go to Lexington, you do Concordia and Waverly. How's that? Okay.
Concordia, okay. Smart.
I think that's
Who's
all.
doing Odessa?
James said she'd do Odessa.
Yeah, she's still on it.
Yes, whatever you wanna do.
And then.
Jackie, could you send us,
We didn't get knob.
What was it, Goldie?
I can do knob if you want, or Dan, you can do knob if you want, or we can do both. I don't care. I was gonna say, Jackie, could you send us a list or email us a list of how many employees work at the various branches?
Yes, I can.
I think we did that last year too.
Do you want all of admin in one group, or do you want them broken down by department?
Well, is all of admin in Warrensburg?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think either way is fine.
Okay.
And Dan, I'll talk to you and we'll figure out what we're doing.
Do you wanna, Goldie and Dan, I'm willing to help too, so maybe like one of us do Warrensburg staff, one of us do Warrensburg admin, and one of us do knob.
I'll take admin, Warrensburg.
Okay.
Okay. Goldie, do you wanna do Warrensburg staff or knob?
I don't mind, Heather. I did knob and Warrensburg, I think, last year and admin, but anyways, I don't
Well, I'm just
remember.
trying to spread it out some more so
Yeah.
nobody has to do a whole
Well,
bunch.
If you want to do Warrensburg staff, I'll do knob, and that way I can go over there.
Okay, that
and
sounds
drop
fine.
off. Okay. And if you need help with staff, let me know. I'll help.
Okay, I will, thank you.
Ms. Hackworth. Yes, ma'am.
I know there's not a lot of people at Wheaton. I'll go to Wheaton.
Oh, I didn't think about
They don't feel left out.
Okay, if you would like to, that's fine, that's nice. Okay.
Oh yeah, Leighton. I forgot about Leighton. Who's doing Leighton?
Becky,
Okay.
you still doing Holden, or are you, okay, thank you, that's nice of you, all right. All right. Anything else, any other announcements? Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.